All right, let's get into this, because what we are witnessing right now is not just another media narrative. It is a full-blown meltdown, a coordinated, desperate, almost theatrical attempt to rewrite reality in real time. Because here's the truth that nobody in those royalist echo chambers wants to admit. Harry and Meghan's Australian tour didn't flop. It shook the system. And that is exactly why they are panicking. You can always tell when the Sussexes have done something impactful, something powerful, something that resonates with real people, because suddenly the noise gets louder, the headlines get harsher, the spin becomes more absurd. And this time, they've gone as far as commissioning what can only be described as an emotional support poll. Yes, a poll. Because apparently videos of thousands of people cheering don't count anymore. Crowds lining the streets? Irrelevant. Designers seeing their businesses transformed overnight? Ignore that. People sharing emotional, heartfelt stories about meeting Harry and Meghan? Doesn't matter. No, no, no. We are now supposed to believe that a carefully worded survey is the ultimate truth. Let's break this down properly. We are told that this poll, conducted among around 1,700 Australians, proves that the tour didn't improve public opinion of Harry and Meghan. But here's the first problem. What exactly were the questions? Because when you look closer, the entire thing starts to fall apart. They weren't asking people, did you enjoy seeing Harry and Meghan? They weren't asking, did their visit bring excitement or positivity? They weren't asking, did local businesses benefit? Instead, they asked things like whether the tour would repair Harry's relationship with his father. Let's be serious for a second. Since when was that the purpose of the trip? At what point did Harry say, I'm flying to Australia to fix my family situation? That narrative was invented, manufactured, and now they're using it as a benchmark for failure. It's like setting someone up with a goal they never claimed, and then declaring them unsuccessful when they don't meet it. That's not analysis. That's manipulation, and it gets even more ridiculous. Another question reportedly asked whether the tour showed a more positive side of Meghan. Now, think about that. You're asking people, many of whom didn't even attend events, didn't meet her, didn't engage beyond headlines, whether their perception changed, and then treating those responses as definitive evidence. Meanwhile, on the ground, we saw something completely different. We saw crowds, real crowds, not staged, not filtered, real people showing up, waiting, cheering, engaging. We saw people at Bondi Beach absolutely swarming them. We saw emotional moments, people saying this was the highlight of their lives, something they would never forget. And let's talk about the so-called Meghan Effect, because that's another thing they conveniently want you to ignore. Designers in Australia saw immediate spikes in traffic, in sales, in global attention. That's not opinion. That's measurable impact. That is economic influence. That is cultural relevance. But somehow a poll outweighs all of that. It doesn't make sense unless you understand what's really going on. This isn't about truth. It's about control. Because Harry and Meghan operate outside the system now, they're not bound by palace messaging. They're not limited to carefully controlled appearances. They connect directly with people. And that kind of authenticity? It terrifies the establishment. So what do? They try to undermine it. They try to create doubt. They try to convince you not to trust what you see with your own eyes. And that's exactly what this narrative is doing. Don't believe the crowds. Don't believe the excitement. Don't believe the impact. Believe this poll instead. It's almost insulting. And let's not ignore the timing here. Because every time Harry and Meghan have a visible, successful moment, whether it's a tour, a project, or a public appearance, the backlash machine activates. Articles appear. Commentators start talking. And suddenly there's a coordinated push to frame success as failure. Why? Because acknowledging their success would mean admitting something uncomfortable. It would mean admitting that Harry and Meghan didn't need the institution to thrive. It would mean admitting that stepping away didn't diminish them, it elevated them. And that's a narrative some people simply cannot accept. So instead, they construct an alternate reality, one where crowds don't matter, one where enthusiasm is dismissed, one where influence is downplayed, and one where a single poll becomes the ultimate authority. But here's the thing. People are not stupid. You can't show them one reality, and then expect them to believe the opposite. You can't flood social media with videos of cheering crowds and then claim nobody cared. You can't ignore economic impact and then pretend there was no influence. And you definitely can't keep moving the goalposts and expect no one to notice, because that's exactly what's happening. First, they say Harry and Meghan are irrelevant. Then, when they draw massive attention, they say it's staged. Then, when that doesn't stick, they say it didn't change opinions. And now they're pointing to a poll as proof of failure. It's a cycle. A predictable, transparent cycle. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's also talk about this idea that the Sussexes operate in a bubble, because that's another favourite talking point. They claim that Harry and Meghan only see curated audiences, hand-picked supporters. But let's be honest, every public figure operates within some level of structure during tours. That's normal. What's not normal is the level of organic engagement we saw, the spontaneous crowds, the emotional reactions, the genuine excitement. That doesn't come from a bubble. That comes from connection, real connection. And that's something you cannot fake. You can't manufacture that level of response consistently across different locations, different events, different audiences. It either exists or it doesn't, and in this case, it clearly did. So when critics try to dismiss it, what they're really doing is revealing their own bias, because they've already decided what they want the narrative to be. And anything that contradicts that narrative gets ignored, minimized, or twisted. That's not journalism. That's agenda, and people are starting to see through it. Because the gap between what is being reported and what is being seen is getting too wide, too obvious, too ridiculous. And this poll, it's just the latest example, a desperate attempt to create a headline that doesn't match reality. But here's the truth that no amount of spin can change. Harry and Meghan are still drawing attention. They're still influencing culture. They're still connecting with people around the world, and they're doing it on their own terms. That's the real story. Not a poll, not an opinion piece, not a narrative constructed in a newsroom. The real story is what's happening in real life, and that's something no one can rewrite. Now, before we wrap this up, let's just take a moment to appreciate the irony in all of this. The same people claiming Harry and Meghan are irrelevant are the ones writing endless articles about them. The same people insisting nobody cares are the ones commissioning polls to prove it. Think about that. If someone truly didn't matter, you wouldn't need to work this hard to convince people of it. And that tells you everything you need to know. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about whether the tour was a success. We already saw the answer to that. This is about controlling the narrative. And that battle? It's far from over. So, if you've made it this far, you already understand what's really going on. And if you want more breakdowns like this, real conversations, real analysis, cutting through the noise, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Because we're not just repeating headlines here, we're challenging them, we're questioning them, and we're exposing the gaps between narrative and reality. Also, if you want to support the channel and help keep this kind of content going, don't forget you can use the Super Thanks feature right here on YouTube. Every bit of support helps us continue to bring you these deep dives and unapologetic conversations. Drop your thoughts in the comments as well, because I want to hear from you. Did you see the footage from the tour? Do you think a poll can override real-world impact? And why do you think the media keeps pushing these narratives? Let's talk about it. Until next time, stay informed, stay critical, and don't let anyone tell you not to believe your own eyes.